Travel all over the countryside, ask the Leylands, ask the Leylands. Travel all over the countryside, ask the Leyland Brothers. Whatever it is that you want to see, ask the Leylands, ask the Leylands. No matter whatever that happens to be, ask the Leyland Brothers. Come on, me in and then join in the fun. Travel all over Australia. Ask the Leyland, ask the Leyland, ask the Leyland Brothers.
This week we have 3 interesting stories for you. Now, where do we start, Mel? Well, our first story comes from Western Australia, quite near the town of Hyden, here in the wheat belt. Although the town itself is not the subject of our story, it's an interesting geographical formation known as wave rock. And then where we go to, Mike? Across to New South Wales to the township of Gundagai, but not to look at the famous dog on the tucker box, but to look at a man on a horse. And he is the last of the horseback posties. And then our final story comes from South Australia, north of Spencer's Gulf. We take a look at the Flinders Ranges, a spectacular, rugged and beautiful piece of country, including a very interesting geographical formation once more, Wilpena Pound.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Right. We're in Western Australia, just east of a small town of Hyden, which is in the wheat belt. And we've come here in answer to this request, which comes from Desmond Johns of Whitemore in Tasmania, who says, could you please tell and show me about the formation and composition of wave rock in Hyden, Western Australia? Well, this is wave rock. It's quite famous landmark, and it's well known to most visitors who come to Western Australia. And we're going to take a look not only at this small part of it, which is the wavy formation, but we're going to take a look at the whole rock area, which is actually known as Hyden Rock. Hyden Rock is one of many large pronounced granite outcrops in the Hyden region, and wave rock forms only part of the north face of the rock. This spectacular feature of the rock first came into prominence when a photographer won a worldwide photographic competition with a shot of wave rock. The photograph became quite famous, not only in New York, where the competition was held in the early 1960s, but all around the world. This spectacular example of erosion and weathering has attracted an increasing procession of curious visitors ever since. About 350 kilometres east of Perth, wave rock lies on the edge of the wheat belt in country which is fairly dry. It was known as a landmark to the Afghan cameleers who once trekked into the inland, and they utilised its large catchment area by constructing a wall of rocks on the surface of the dome-shaped Hyden Rock to direct the rainwater into a natural rock basin. This idea has been expanded and improved upon by more recent engineers. From the top of Hyden Rock, on this wall that runs around the edge here, is all part of the water scheme for the town of Hyden. The wall was built in 1928, and then in 1956 it was expanded. Now, Hyden Rock actually is 3 domes, and in between 2 of those domes they've constructed a dam, and this is how they catch the water for it. As you walk up on the top of the rock, there's an interesting feature up here worth noting, and that is, in the top of the rock, after heavy rains, there's lots of little pools, and these pools fill with water. Now, as the water goes down into those pools, it soaks through the rock itself and dissolves certain chemicals in the rock. Now, this travels through the rock and emerges on the other side, and it flows through on that section where the wave shape is, which gives wave rock its name, and the chemicals that are in it cause the staining on the rock, and that's how come those vertical bands appear on the face of wave rock. Hyden Dam is a sizable oasis in an otherwise dry country. The water is piped about 5 kilometres to town, thereby assuring a more reliable source of water for the residents of Hyden. That sort of hollow sound comes as a bit of a surprise, actually, as you're walking across the top of this great chunk of granite. That's all part of the erosional processes which are taking place here and have been for millions of years since this was first created. This is known as exfoliation, this type of erosion, whereby flakes of rock sort of peel off from the main rock. This one here sounds fairly hollow, which means that it's got an air gap in there, and after who knows how long, when more erosion takes place, it'll eventually drift away from the main body of the rock. The water requirements for the district look like being even greater for the future, with the enormous increase in the number of visitors which make the trip to see this unusual feature. The locals would like to hope it can become Western Australia's Ayers Rock, and such is the faith of the local farmers that a group of them have pooled their financial resources and invested in an elaborate and modern motel at Hyden. They may find this country more profitable for tourist farming than for wheat farming. After all, tourists don't seem to mind a little heat, and they will probably come to see and walk all over Wave Rock, even in the middle of a drought.
Bruce Dennis starts the day at 6 a.m. to prepare his horse Frosty for work. Bruce and Frosty are an unusual team. Sally Haslington of Cooma wrote, "I've heard of a postman who delivers mail on horseback at Gundagai in New South Wales. Could you show him at work on Ask The Leyland Brothers?" Bruce is the last of the horseback posties. Nowadays, motorcycles have taken over from the horse. The 3-kilometre ride to the Gundagai post office is a good warm-up for Frosty, and Bruce doesn't have to compete with noisy traffic. Bruce starts work at 7:45 a.m. and begins by sorting the mail to be delivered. It's important to pack the saddlebags correctly so that as the mail is delivered, they reduce in weight evenly.
Good, Barry.
The morning run begins at 9 a.m. and starts at the end of the main street. A postman on foot covers the main business section of Gundagai. Frosty is probably the only horse on the Australia Post payroll. He receives a fortnightly allowance for feed and keep. Gundagai's mail has been delivered by horseback since the post office opened 71 years ago. Bruce says Gundagai is so hilly that delivering mail by horseback is the only practical way. Weather is no bar. The mail is delivered, hail, rain or shine. And Bruce can't remember when they had a day off sick. Bruce has many friends on his run, and everyone is familiar with the clippity-clop of Frosty's hooves on the streets of Gundagai.
Your Christmas card, getting them out early. Something for you. Post them early. Well, here comes my little mate up here. You want to ride? Come on! My dear, you're getting heavy. Oh! There you're right. Put your foot there. You got your book? You're right. Now we ride. When we get our letter. Get him going. He won't go for us. Come over here. Tell him to go. Say, get going. All right. Hang on.
Bruce and Frosty have been giving 4-year-old David Anderson a ride every day for the past 2 months. David waits anxiously each morning for his friend and hero and looks forward to his regular ride on the gentle Frosty. Bruce believes he is the last of the horseback postmen in Australia.
Oh, how's that?
Bruce has 300 mail drops in his daily deliveries. These include the small farms on the outskirts of town. He covers the closer deliveries in the morning, and the afternoons take him out to the outlying homes.
Bruce, how long have you been doing the run on the horse now? About 26 years, I think. I started about 49 or 1950, I think I took over from the old chap. He retired. He'd done it for 45 years, from what I could recollect.
And how far would you go each day on the horse, any idea?
From when I leave home till I go back again, I think it's about 20 miles.
You don't think you'll ever go to a motorbike?
I wouldn't think so. I can't ride one, I've got no intentions of learning.
What will happen when Bruce and Frosty retire? Will a new horseback postman take over, or will Frosty be replaced by a motorbike? The people of Gundagai like the way the mail is delivered now, efficiently and quietly.
We've received a letter from a 10-year-old Richard Grainer from Ross Trevor in South Australia. And he says, I would like the Leyland Brothers to make a film on the Flinders Ranges. I would like them to film Wilpena Pound. Richard then goes on to say that he's been here twice himself. Well, we are going to take a look at the Flinders, or at least the southern section of the Flinders as far north as Wilpena Pound. And on our way north from Adelaide, just before we reached Hawker, we've stopped off at an historical spot. It's a place where a property was established back in 1851 by Mr. Hugh Proby. The property, Kanaka, is in ruins today, but little imagination is needed to visualise what an important settlement this was in its day. The great drought of the 1860s, constant attack by hostile natives, overstocking, and eventually the carving up of large leases by the government forced Kanaka to close. To walk among the ruins is to feel the spirit of the pioneers, a spirit so well captured in verse by D.P. Keneally. A tranquil spot where ruins teem with memories in a shambles cast. The settings here of an old dead dream, a long dead dream of the distant past. Under the sun and the stars alone the old home stands by the dry creek's bed, a sad, mute memory wrought in stone. To Kanaka, its forgotten dead. There was a day, it is far behind, when song and laughter rang through its halls. Today there is naught save the rain and wind to waken from slumber its ruined walls. Ah, brothers, here where our forebears sleep eternally, life once held sway, with lowing of oxen and bleat of sheep, and the prattle and rumpus of children at play. Night brought home from the spots remote the shepherd meek and the stockman bold, and the air was sweet with the violin's note, at Kanaka in the days of old. Here are their tombstones, here their claim on all that is earthly, a plot of clay, a slab of granite, a date, a name, the month and the year they were called away. North from Kanaka on the sealed road is the settlement of Hawker. This is the last reasonable-sized town before entering the Flinders Ranges. It is situated at the junction of all roads which lead to the Flinders and is a good stopover to replenish supplies and take on fuel. From Hawker, the road to Wilpena leads north. Now, for the first time, the famous Blue Range dominates the skyline. With the passing of every minute, the individual features of the ridges and gorges begin to emerge from the haze. A first-class bitumen highway leads right to Wilpena, making this one of the most accessible parts of inland Australia. A far cry from 1802 when Matthew Flinders discovered the range and considered it both uninviting and unimpressive. Wilpena is the end of the bitumen road and probably the central point from which most visitors organise their stay in the Flinders. The camping grounds are extensive, set amid the beautiful gums on the Wilpena Creek and equipped with the most modern amenities. If camping out is not your style, the adjacent motel offers service and comfort equal to almost any city establishment. There is only one entrance to Wilpena Pound, and it follows the Wilpena Creek. A vehicle track enables visitors to take their cars about halfway, where a walking trail takes over and leads into the central basin of the pound. It's an easy, pleasant walk, the trail rising gently until it reaches the level of the basin. Here is an abandoned hut built around 1900 by John Hill, a farmer from Hawker. He held the lease for the pound at the time and grew wheat here. This venture was short-lived, however, for a deluge washed away the road he so painstakingly built. Since then, it has been left to nature. And nature seems to have done very well with it. The wildflowers to be encountered on the walk are a feature of any visit to Wilpena Pound. From the hut, the trail is steeper and leads to a lookout on one of the sandstone buttresses which form the circle of hills around the park-like basin. Well, so far we're about halfway up the hill that rises from the creek, and we've got a little way yet to go before we reach the lookout where we can see over into the Wilpena Pound itself. It's a reasonably steep climb and fairly hot at this time of the year. Right? Well, this is about as high as you can go on the walk to the top of the lookout, and from here you have a fairly good view of Wilpena Pound. You can see the basin of the pound down below, and you can see the ring of hills, well, at least part of the ring of hills, which form this giant amphitheatre. You can't really get the full circular effect, though, from here. To do that, you have to see it from the air. From this vantage point, it looks as though it could be a volcanic crater, but it's not. It's simply a freak of nature made up of sedimentary sandstone laid down in the Precambrian period. The Aboriginal people called this the place of the bent fingers. St Mary's Peak on the rugged northern wall of the pound is the highest peak, rising to 1,189 metres. Some people say Captain Starlight, the famous bushranger, used the pound to hide stolen cattle, but it's probably only a rumour kept alive to amuse tourists. One strange feature which can only be seen from the plain is man-made. John Hill's plough furrows, still visible after 80 years. Odd remnants from the past. More obvious are nearby pioneer homes. Can you imagine what it must have been like in 1851 to come to this part of the country and decide that you're going to settle here? Well, that's what happened when Dr. Brown and Mr. Price came to this spot. They established the original Wilpena homestead. Now, this is the site of the Wilpena homestead. It's not far from Wilpena Pound. And scattered throughout here are several buildings that were built back in 1851 from local stone held together with mud. It must have been pretty good building material because the buildings are still standing fairly solidly, like this one behind me. This is the storeroom. Now, about the only change to it is that the roof is now covered with corrugated iron. Underneath that iron is the thatching that was put there originally, and it's still held together with the old rawhide ropes they use. A remarkable testimony to the tenacity of those early pioneers. The earliest visitors to come this way were the pastoralists in search of new land, and they could not help but be impressed by the rugged beauty of the ranges. Today it's mostly tourists, and they too appreciate the scenery. Dirt tracks wind through the hills and ranges of the Flinders, providing for those that take the trouble some of the most magnificent scenery in Australia. A place riddled with gorges and valleys of unsurpassed beauty. A paradise for the artist or photographer. Bratchina Gorge is one of the most picturesque spots in the Flinders. A rugged stony track follows the creek through the gorge, where it's a pleasure just to drive and soak up the parade of colourful rocks and glistening pools. A place where you can rediscover the almost lost art of taking your time to enjoy being a motorist. This kind of scenery is probably what the Flinders Ranges is all about.
Travel all over the countryside, ask the Leylands, ask the Leylands. Travel all over the countryside, ask the Leyland Brothers. Whatever it is that you want to see, ask the Leylands, ask the Leylands. No matter whatever that happens to be, ask the Leyland Brothers.